Today, we're looking at a huge controversy brewing at one of India's biggest IT companies, Tata Consultancy Services. It's a story about internal exams, job security, and a fight for transparency that's putting thousands of livelihoods on the line. So, just imagine this for a second. You're told you have to take a mandatory test at work. You probably think, okay, no big deal, maybe it's for some upskilling or promotion. But what if failing that test could actually mean you lose your job? And believe me, the stakes are incredibly high. For one woman, this whole situation was just devastating. A court had denied her alimony because, hey, she had a good job at TCS. But then, shortly after that decision, she was allegedly let go, leaving her with absolutely no income. That's the real human story right at the heart of all this. Okay, so what is really going on here? Let's break down what people are saying about these internal assessments at TCS. The group that's really shining a light on this is the Forum for IT Employees, or FIGHT. They're an advocacy group, and they're the ones who brought these stories out into the open, sharing accounts from workers who felt they were being treated unfairly. So here's the core of FIGHT's claim. They're saying these exams weren't just for training. They believe the tests were actually being used to pressure employees, some with as little as 2 years of experience, to just resign. Which brings us to what exactly FIGHT is accusing them of. What are their biggest complaints, and what do they want done about it? What FIGHT wants is pretty simple, really. Transparency. They're saying, show us the exam papers, tell us how you're grading them, and give everyone their individual scores. Because without that, they argue the whole process is just a black box. And get this, adding to all the confusion is the pass mark. FIGHT says employees were told they needed to score somewhere between 70 and 80%, but with no clear idea of how that score was even being calculated. You know, a statement from FIGHT really just hits the nail on the head. They said when an exam decides someone's livelihood, employees have the right to see where they went wrong. Their point is these things should be about helping you grow, not about pushing you out the door without any explanation. So, as you can probably guess, this wasn't going to stay behind closed doors for long. FIGHT has decided to take this whole thing to the next level. They've officially brought the case to the Labor Department in Maharashtra. That's a huge step, and it means this is now being looked at by the government. And they are not stopping there. They've made sure that some very important people are aware of this, tagging everyone from the Labor Minister and the Chief Minister's office to the Maharashtra Women's Commission. They want everyone to know how serious this is. You know, this case at TCS isn't happening in a vacuum. It's actually tapping into a much, much bigger conversation about what it's like to work in India's massive IT sector. So, the obvious question is this just about one company? Or is this pointing to a much bigger trend?
Well, a lot of people are saying this has basically blown the lid off a long simmering debate. The argument is that there's a real lack of formal protections for IT workers in India, which can leave them pretty vulnerable to company policies that can change on a dime.
Let's just break down the key points of friction here. From the employee side, it feels really unbalanced. They're asking, if a company can let you go instantly, why do we have to serve a 3-month notice period? And like we've been talking about, there's this huge frustration that exams are being used for forced exits, not for development. All of this is made worse by the fact that there isn't much union representation and a feeling that most of these terminations just go completely unchallenged. So where does this all leave us? What's the path forward? And what are people doing to fix these issues? Well, this is all happening at a really crucial moment. India is right in the middle of a big national conversation about reforming its labor laws. And groups like FIGHT are making it clear that as the tech sector explodes, the rules to protect its workers have to grow and evolve right along with it. As for FIGHT, they have a pretty clear game plan. First, they're going to keep fighting for transparency in these assessments. Second, they're going to directly help employees who feel like they're being pushed out. And third, they're going to keep pushing the government to step in and create stronger policies for everybody. And in the end, a quote from a FIGHT representative really says it all. This is not just about exams. It's about dignity, fairness, and livelihood. And that leaves a pretty big question for one of the world's fastest growing industries. How do you make sure that growth and people are valued